Good evening, everybody. We are back. It's Friday, so we're doing some more Crusader Kings 2. Just gonna test the levels for the audio, and we will jump straight into the game. Good evening, everybody. Alright. So, as usual, let's take a quick look at the world before we jump into the game. We began as the County of Westmoreland. We are well into this playthrough. We began at the... Why is it playing advertising? There we go. So, we began as the County of Westmoreland way back in 867. It is now 1309. This game goes up... the last playable date is 1337, but I believe it goes to 1453, if I'm not mistaken. So we are getting pretty close to the end. There's about 150 years left in this game. A little under that. We've grown. We have encompassed Iceland, all of Great Britain, and Ireland. Not just Northern Ireland. We have started making some progress in Spain. We are presently sort of held hostage by the Teutonic Order, which is going to require a number of casus belli, and is actually a fairly formidable opponent on its own. The Byzantine Empire, along with a couple of other groups, have started to sort of slowly piece out some parts, although that's not necessarily any better for me, because in the end what I was originally thinking for this Spanish conquest was a number of Muslim holdings, which I could declare holy war on. Effectively, every time that the leader died or the peace treaty expired, it does seem like the Golden Horde has more or less been, if not obliterated, at least they've been defanged for the moment. So that's one less worry. And what we'll find when we go into the game is that we have got an absolutely incredible Muslim empire, the Abbasids, who could very easily take on pretty much most of the Western world. So clearly it falls upon the House of Rose to unite the West through conquest, lest the Mohammedans take over. My goodness, I'm being hosted by Superior Blaze. Thank you very much. Sorry if I didn't realize that earlier. Going to do a quick reset of chat, so apologies if I am not responsive. I also got to remember where we were in this playthrough, because I know it was an untimely ending due to some crashes. Actually, the best thing I can do right now is account for my groups. Okay, so we're fabricating a claim on Pharaoh. Basically, we're getting ready for a war against the Teutonic Order. They currently have 23,000 troops, so I'm not too worried about them. I believe I've got some factions to deal with, but I'll do this systematically. So I'm still investing in troop technology. The main reason for that is that the majority of fights that I go into are not going to be decided by my entire force. So because I have a surplus of men at the moment, I feel that it's better for me to use my marshal to raise the technology level of my troops rather than put any kind of investment into giving myself extra troops. Like, in the end, most of the conflict that I've been involved with has not involved me raising vassal levies, or alternatively only raising vassal levies and not using my own personal ones. I've never really had a battle which has required my entire forces. We are currently collecting taxes in Westmoreland. Now, I may want to adjust this policy depending how close we are to more technological breakthroughs. It doesn't look like we are that close at all, actually. So I think the money's probably the better route to go, just so I can invest in more universities. Although, again, with 150 years to go, it's debatable as to whether or not that's a worthwhile investment. Our spy master should be getting rid of plots. So currently in Essex, or Wessex. Yes, Wessex. And who is it? Is she really the biggest concern at the moment? It almost seems to me like I should be focusing on this group. So let's change that up. I may wind up regretting this, but I'm going to prefer current me's strategies to last game's me. And then it seems to me that cultural tech is the way to go. I don't believe we have any heresy, and we converted the last of the Muslim territory. Yeah, so I mean, as far as conversion's concerned, most of the world that matters now, most of the world that's in my immediate reach is already Catholic. No heresies. And obviously, once I start conquering this area to the south, I'll start doing some religious conversion, but I'm quite a ways away from accomplishing that. So we're okay as far as my advisors are concerned. Let's just make sure. I know we had some problems in terms of the succession laws that we were using before, so I'm just going to do a quick review of the laws we have. Everything should be agnatic, cognatic, primogeniture. So the idea here is that I don't like agnatic primogeniture just because if you only have daughters, at least agnatic, cognatic will allow them to inherit the kingdom. I don't see any reason for you to possibly cause the game to end because of that. So I believe we got rid of the last sort of holdout of the agnatic primogenitures, but we'll just double check. England, Scotland. I believe it was Asturias was the holdout. Ireland, Portugal, Wales, and Galatia. So everybody's got the laws that we want. Primogeniture, it may not be ideal. Like, I'm currently losing prestige because it's actually my heir, I believe, that doesn't have a county. But that's fairly easy to fix. I just take Faro at some point. But it does cost me my prestige just simply because my sons need to have, because it's not going to be evenly divided on my death. My sons sort of need a holding of their own. Oh, I didn't notice shipbuilding. I'm going to hold off on that because I don't really need any more ships. I already have too many. Can't do anything with this prisoner, and I believe these people would not abandon their plots. Oh, he would. And it is a member of my bloodline, so even if they hate me, it's advantageous to remove it. Next thing I'm going to be doing is, because I'm generating quite a bit of income, I'm going to be a little bit better in terms of doing things like hosting feasts and summer fairs and things like that. Looks like we're in January, so I don't get any options. Next thing that'll happen will be a summer fair. I just need to keep in mind when that's happening. And I can't appoint any successors for bishops, unfortunately. It looks like only one of them really likes me enough to pay me taxes. Such is life. So one of the drawbacks with this particular ruler has been his very low stewardship. So we've basically been sitting on a domain that's larger than what we can reasonably hold. This does give us a penalty in terms of taxes and armies, but as with this entire playthrough, we've been holding on to these core provinces for the longest time, and I mean, in the end, I'll accept whatever penalties I get from holding too many lands, and this also includes the reputational penalties, just mostly because this is a long-term oriented game. I don't want the fact that one ruler with zero stewardship just winds up giving away the farm, because it's just so much harder to get those territories back. Now, again, the best move would be to upgrade his stewardship. We're already working on that. We don't have the Way of Life expansion, mostly because I don't have the Way of Life expansion. I'm sure a Steam sale will change that. But basically all the other expansions are activated except for Sunset Invasion, which doesn't actually seem to really contribute anything of value. So with that in mind, we can set our ambition to raising stewardship, and in principle, that's how that gets improved. And I lied, it's not 2 stewardship, it's actually... Or sorry, it's not 0 stewardship, it is in fact 2. And we're getting the begging letters because of the scheme. So because we're mostly just waiting for the CB to generate, we'll go up to the 5 speed. I've noticed, seeing as we're coming near the end and we've generated scores of progeny, the game is definitely a little bit slower in running, mostly just because of, you know, all these individuals that it needs to keep track of. That's not necessarily a bad thing if I need the time to think. One of the drawbacks about my the playthrough, which I really didn't address in a timely enough fashion, is that I've sort of neglected my infrastructure. So I am kind of trying to generate something of a surplus. I've mostly been investing in universities, and again, with only about 150 years left in the playthrough, it's debatable as to whether or not that's the right way to go. But it's what I've got now. I'm kind of going to stick with that unless there's something obvious, because as I was saying earlier, I've never really had reason to call all of my forces into a fight. So it seems to me I should either be increasing my revenues directly, which would be through, you know, building town marketplaces and things like that, or indirectly, which is to support the technology which will allow me to do those kinds of improvements. And generally that's held, where I think we've got a couple of places that can still benefit from some upgrades, which is a money question rather than a technology question. But we'll deal with it when it comes up. But with the 937, it's nice to kind of hold on to some reserves anyway. I invited a monkey trainer to the summer fair on the performance, and the performance went well until one of the monkeys refused to ride on top of a pig. The trainer beat the monkey with a stick, which led the other monkeys to attack the trainer, biting him and hitting him with his own stick. Here's your money, I don't want to ever see you here again, although every time we hold a summer fair, he always seems to come back. My lover accused me of loving my spouse, Emperor Bergflade, more than her. So I can buy an expensive gift, take her to my county manor for more quality time. Assure of her importance by words only. No, we'll take her to the country manor for a quality time. Life spent in the arms of another is a life well spent. I've gained the lustful trait. This is mostly just so I can have more sons, which is, I mean, I don't really necessarily need them, but with the plan of conquering more territories, it's nice to have some people to give some territory to. My food has tasted strange lately, and I've begun to eat less for fear of being poisoned. I don't trust the spy master to find the poisoner. The only one I can rely on is a friend. And I will say I'm being paranoid. The food is just fine. Mostly this is just playing the odds. I knew I would get lustful. Well, 75% chance of getting lustful, whereas a 10% chance of becoming ill. Both of those are somewhat in my favor. Even if the church frowns upon jugglers and call them gleemen, I enjoy the humorous and body acts during the summer fair. One of them can juggle 9 apples at the same time. 10 prestige, 5 piety. Church does not like fun things. If the church doesn't like it, should I? So I guess the question here is, what does this bishop think of the Pope? This is Sinhelm the Wicked. There's no way that I'm ever going to get him to like me as much as the Pope. So in this case, I'll just say one of them can juggle 9 apples at the same time. I mean, technically, either of these are going to increment my score by 5 because it counts both piety and prestige. But this is a character that has the potential of getting the achievement. So anything I can do to improve prestige is the way to go, I see with this guy. The Sterling players had set up their scene and were rehearsing their lines for tonight's performance at the summer fair when I approached them. I'd prefer it if you performed Crusader Kings. I get an improvement of 10, Theater is a reflection of the world for one learning. I definitely like taking stats, especially with my learning at 16. That's a rare one to come by, so... I wish it had said a little bit more about how it adjusts the level of technology adoption. I believe learning does that, but I don't think the tooltips tell us much about how that works. Peddlers are loading their wares and the merchants are taking down their stalls. The jugglers, strolling players, and the other entertainers are preparing to leave. The summer fair is over for this year. It was great fun while it lasted, and another 10 prestige. So yeah, it says primary attribute of the court chaplain and affects the rate of technological innovation, but it doesn't necessarily say how. Alright, so a lot of our construction projects just came through. All of these are castle walls just for the extra tax revenue. And we're being called to war. I don't want to lose the prestige, but I'm not actually going to participate in it. Does unfortunately mean I can't have any more parties, though. Also, what I would be doing... I have still been trying to get absolute crown authority in the Empire. It looks like... So, Scotland is holding out? Or no, sorry, not Scotland. Asteris? Or however you pronounce it. Wales. So normally this would be a call for my Chancellor to be knocking on some doors. The big thing is that I don't think the adoption of absolute crown authority is worth the money that I would be spending on it, as opposed to, let's say, the infrastructure improvements that I can do. Actually, I'll take a look into doing those just now. So in this case, I've not used my Chancellor to sway opinion on that because I think they're better used getting some casus belli on provinces that I want. Just because, again, it's a long process, and time is running out for the House of Rose. So I've kind of accepted that this law is not necessarily going to be passed, but it seems just as well that I initiate it, because if I get lucky or if an opportunity comes up, obviously I don't want to, I don't want just laziness to keep me from getting that. So let's take a quick look at what we can build. Again, so the way that I normally go on here is I just take a look at what each of these buildings are going to be giving me. So castle fortifications, I'm not going to be invaded in England. That's just not going to happen. Okay, I'll put it to you this way. If it does happen, the army is more than capable of taking care of that. So I really don't need to improve my fortifications right now. It costs almost nothing, but again, that 65 gold over the number of castles that I have, it's just stuff that I can put the money towards later. I mean, I'll be happy to do it at some point, but not, it is at the very bottom of my lists. Bloodglade, you're here to steal all my food. I actually haven't had that much food today, so feel free to help yourself to whatever I don't have. Thanks for coming by. Actually, there's been a number. I used to call people out in chat, and then I seemed to scare a bunch of people off when I would do that. So I do see there's been a number of you in here. Thanks a lot for showing up, everyone. I've learned my lesson, and I don't want to name names unless unless you want to be recognized. But I appreciate you guys coming by. I know Crusader Kings isn't for everyone. Endors, pleasure to see you as always. How are you doing tonight? And again, a special shout out to Superior Blaze, who I didn't notice the time that the host had occurred, but I am very grateful for his host. So as I was saying before, we've got castle walls. So in this case, that's the upgrade that we just got. That's going to increase the levy size, so not that critical to me just because I already have enough troops for most of the conflicts I'm going to get involved in, but the tax income is going to be going up, as is the fort level, whereas a pure fort level is not going to be that interesting. Got offered free LASIK. That is definitely a good deal. I didn't know you wore glasses, but then that is the nature of text-based chat. So, hope that goes well for you, and that there are no strings attached. Maybe we'll play some Surgeon Simulator on the non-Crusader King days. Alright, so keep, again, levy size, garrison size. I don't need more troops. Militia training ground. Great to have light infantry and archer. I actually particularly like light infantry and archers, but again, as I've already said, this is about troop size. Likewise for barracks, it's just different composition. Heavy infantry and pikemen. Stables will give me cavalry, which I actually tend to underinvest in. So that, arguably because I do such a poor job of managing my existing forces, that stables might actually have an argument. But again, 262 wealth, which I could spend elsewhere. Castle Town is kind of the gold standard for me, because that's just a straight 8 tax income. Are you really legally blind? That's... You only have to sell 45.6. You're still a majority holder of your soul. And finally, the Housecarl training grounds, which again we give a bonus to heavy. So this one again is a little bit this is a little bit trickier, just because you do get the 30 heavy infantry, which again at this point I would say, well, why don't I just build the barracks? The reason why I would build the Housecarl training grounds is because the heavy infantry attack increases by 15%. Comes with having worked at a non-profit for 4 years. Nice. And then finally, we can build a training grounds. Again, this one has something of an argument for it, because it increases the morale of armies, which will ultimately improve the performance of these armies. Levy reinforcement rate goes up, and retinue size goes up. So that's one that has a little bit more of a meaningful contribution, just because in the end, I always keep my levies in the areas where there might be combat. But I want to make sure that all of my other investments have been taken care of first. So I won't go, obviously they're all castles, so I don't need to go over those details too deeply, but Castle Town, castle walls are where they need to be for here. Lancaster, same deal. Westmoreland, our capital, still building a castle town. It's also got the highest level of technology, so we'd expect that. Castle walls are just finishing up, and not enough technology for Castle Town. We're good for Northumbria, and finally Durham is where it needs to be. Now, actually, and these, it looks like they've got the Housecarl training grounds already, so... Oh, but I can give them a castle town, so let's work on that. Redpain sold his soul years ago for a quarter. Need to get a drink back in high school. Isn't there I believe there's a biblical story. I think it's Jacob and Esau selling your birthright for a bowl of stew. Okay, so it looks like as far as Chesterfield's concerned, there's nothing more to be done as far as upgrades are concerned. Good for universities, it looks like. These are a little more tricky just because there's more than one city in a lot of these holdings. Again, it looks like we're running into the technological constraints, which means I could consider bishoprics as well. It's funny that I'm really not putting it... Oh, do I own this? Yes, I do. So much for upgrading bishoprics. This one's actually really far behind. I also can upgrade... Oh, no, I can't upgrade castle walls. Okay, it's not as far behind as I thought. So it was actually worthwhile to go over that. Okay, more city walls. As far as what we're generating, the monthly balance isn't actually that impressive. It's only 817, where previously we would see something in the tens. But again, it's sort of a function of the lack of stewardship that we have on this particular character. I suppose on the plus side, though, because of this war is going on, we don't have any opportunities to squander the money on festivals. And because I refused to actually assist my neighbor, basically I got married to these guys and they have insisted on... they've insisted on just dragging us into war after war after war. I'm not going to help them, and two, you know, it gives me fewer opportunities to raise my prestige, which is the ultimate score of the game. Not that we're hurting at 120 score, but it's just a pain. Like, it's all cost to me and no real benefit. I mean, there are prestige gains and there's wealth gains for winning battles, but I think the cost of getting the ships or, you know, rebuilding my retinues. Speaking of which, actually, I think I'm paying for these upgrades. I'm actually interested in seeing how this works. So right now, with my retinue, I'm at full upgrading, but I've already, like, everything's maxed out here. Oh, actually, looks like I can add some more troops. So let's do some skirmishers. I have no idea when I'm actually going to incorporate them into the main force, but so much for that. I'll wait until this is finished loading up. So way back when a canned drink was only 50 cents and jumped to 60 cents, only a dime, and your buddy was like, I only have a quarter, how about your soul for it? Someone wants to kill me. It's got to be an interesting conversation. Princess Gyla, do you want to kill me? Yes. Please don't. On the plus side, everybody's kind of giving up pretty easily. I am somewhat debating on the auto stop plots button just because there haven't been any... Actually, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that this time around just because everything with this ruler has been people of his bloodline, or he's liked enough. I mean, the opinion doesn't indicate it, right? There are some people who really hate him, but it seems like the plots that are actually generating are not ones that that are targeting people who I want to be targeted. So for this case, I'm actually going to be lazy and I'm going to auto end plots. But I normally don't like hitting that button because sometimes they're really handy for getting rid of rivals that I don't like. Oh, come on, Red Pain. We're nicer. We've got the name the Gentle. Elizabeth II the Gentle of Britannia. You can't execute people like that. You need a cheat sheet or a checklist to play this game, Fetches. Yeah, it's... One of the funny things about this, so, you know, we've changed the format recently because there's a great division as far as Crusader Kings 2 goes, which is, I noticed that there are people who only watch the stream for Crusader Kings 2, and there are people who will watch the stream as long as I am not playing Crusader Kings 2. So I want to respect both because I think it's a fun game and it's really interesting, but it's you know, the interest is also part of its downfall in my opinion because it's just so complicated, and I don't think they do a very good job of letting people into the game easily. Yeah, just Chalk plays it for you. I'm happy to play it for you. This is actually one funny thing, right? Like I'm almost certainly never going to own a PlayStation 4. And I really like Bloodborne, and I really like The Order. Like, I think they're gorgeous looking games and they look really interesting. And I know everybody said, oh, The Order's terrible because it's short. You know, I was thoroughly entertained every time I watched somebody play The Order on Twitch. So, you know, for me, I got hooked into a couple of Order streams. So I don't know what the complaints are about, frankly. But, you know, these are experiences I've had only because of Twitch, because I don't want to drop if I'm going to drop $500 on something, it's going to be textbooks. Let's be honest here. So, you know, that's part of the Crusader Kings experience. Yeah, and I agree with you, Red Pain. I mean, one of the big things is that I do actually like a variety of games. Crusader Kings 2 is almost something of an oddity in terms of what I normally play. Because if you like, the thing I put the most time in, according to Steam, is Dota 2, which I never stream unless I'm casting it. So, you know, it's so with that in mind, I thought this was the best balance that I could get in terms of what my interests and other people's interests were. I almost always adopt the ideas, and in this case, for 14 gold, I'll make that back in 2 months. But yeah, so I mean, on this point of Crusader Kings 2, so I mean, the complexity of this game is fantastic, and I like it. I regulars on the stream are going to get so tired of me hearing this comparison, but you know, Civilization 5 is a game where they've extracted this idea of civilization, you know, this collection of humanity's greatest achievements, and it is a game centered entirely around those. So you play this abstract social planner who, if you wake up one day and you decide that, you know, the United States of America is going to become a dictatorship, that happens and nobody really questions you. I don't feel too well. Something is wrong with me. I am burning up with fever. My nose is running. My head feels as if someone is banging something hard against it. Please kill me. Gain the trade ill. Hopefully we don't die. We've got a pretty good run for prestige with this guy. So, you know, and Civilization is built entirely around these ideas, and it's a lot of fun to play. But one of the things about it is that if you're looking for realism, Civilization doesn't necessarily offer that. Now, I'll also say I think Civilization is some of the pinnacles of strategy gaming. It's a game that I think is, for something as complex as it is, does a fairly good job of easing people into the game. It's something that I notice most people I talk to can get into it, or at least appreciate why people enjoy it. But it's, you know, the history of that game is not necessarily, you know, we're going to show you what it really was like. And in the highlights, actually, there was that interview with Professor Marshall, and we talked a little bit about it, that, you know, the experience of history has not been that everybody gets an even playing field. So Crusader Kings 2 is entirely about the uneven playing field. The game will let you know if you're signing up for a world of hurt. I'll get through this event and I'll finish the thought. My wife, Empress Bergflade, has asked me to get rid of one of my courtiers whom she finds mighty annoying. On one hand, Bergflade may not be happy if I refuse her request, but if I fire the annoying man, people will feel my wife has too much influence over my actions. She should stay out of this. I don't care what she thinks about me. 88? 78? Good riddance. I got my hot lover anyway. Okay, so we've got rid of a faction. Who's the next most dangerous? This menu I usually just go by percentages. One of the things, now this already wins by percentage, but I also look for something like this where I've got lower crown authority in Scotland and Duke Beorhtric of Scotland. In this case, it's the same guy behind both. So that also gives them a little bit of priority as far as allocating my spy master, who is fairly good at their job, but I notice is not too prompt in their discouraging. Personal fave at the moment is Endless Legend. Fetches, I've written a Steam guide for Dungeon of the Endless. I really like Endless Space and would probably write a guide for that. So far, I haven't been able to get that far into Endless Legend just because I think Amplitude is fantastic at making games and terrible at making tutorials. So my question to you is, do you have a good way of getting into Endless Legend? Like, so this is funny, right? I'm talking entirely about the complexity of Crusader Kings, and apparently Endless Legend has left me stymied. But yeah, I am actually noticing that I'll go into combat and it's just a bloodbath, even though, you know, theoretically we should be on an even starting point. So if you have any resources that you could recommend to allow me to sort of find this great game that I know is hiding underneath, I'd love to experience it, especially because I'd actually like to play it on stream too. collected a tithe in Westmoreland. Oh, actually, did we just... We did just disband. So my Spymaster is going to be tied up for a little while. Let's just take a look at the next biggest plot. So this is actually... well, you know, at 28, they're almost as big as the... Actually, they are the largest, so get another one, 2 for the price of 1. Ah, York, we put so much effort into getting it. Now it's causing us nothing but trouble. Oh, that's funny. So Endless Legend was easier to get into than Endless Space. It could just be... I mean, I really haven't put that much time into it myself. So, but Let's Plays are the way to go. Okay. I appreciate that, Fetches, because, I mean, again, to put it to you this way, like... I don't play a lot of early access game. Now, I didn't play Endless Legend in early access, but I did play Dungeon of the Endless in early access. It's one of the few that I have. I think the only other ones that I played in early access, Starbound, which more or less turned me off of early access, Darkest Dungeon, which I think is a fantastic game, and Kerbal Space Program. Oh, wait, and Besiege. So actually I play a couple more than I thought. But yeah, I mean, I broke my usual early access rule for Dungeon of the Endless. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Enjoyed it so much that I wanted to share the game with others in the form of that guide. So, but I mean, with that in mind, right? Like I will give credit where credit is due, and I will also give condemnation where it's due. I think Amplitude really needs to put more effort in their tutorials, just because it's, you know, I'm not entirely like I'm happy to do it because I like sharing games with people, but to a certain extent, like, I did put quite a bit of time into that guide, and it is ultimately unpaid labor. And something tells me that companies sometimes skimp on their... Like, if you look at the Endless Legend manual, it's still full of typographical errors and, like, work in progress and stuff like that. So it's very clear that they are allocating resources to other things, sort of knowing that the community is going to do stuff like Let's Play videos, and basically people will be able to learn through other means, which I'm not entirely sure is that respectful to the community. But, I mean, again, it's a developer that I really like, and I think they do more right than wrong. And the space is pissed and engaged at the same time. I know exactly what you're talking about. I actually didn't get the DLC for it for the longest time, just because I needed to get into the original game. And I fear that that's going to happen with Endless Legend as well, because they just released their DLC for it, but I really haven't experienced the core content yet. So, I don't know, maybe you guys will get a chance to watch me learn it on a stream that's coming up. We still have other stuff to do, like this War of Mine, and still need to finish Dragonfall. We didn't actually do any Dragonfall last week, just because we had these... you know, these events coming up. So I hope you guys enjoyed Don't Starve Together with Seriously Clara's mods. Seriously Clara, for those of you who don't know, is the partnered streamer who has hosted Team Panda, which I'm currently affiliated with. Wonderful streamer, somebody who I actually met locally, and is kind of one of the reasons why I'm doing streaming a little more regularly. You love history, you're so attracted to the idea of Crusader Kings 2, but you've tried a couple of times to go into it and simply keep getting stalled. It's harder to find things to do and have a solid direction. Yeah, it fetches. This is the problem with Crusader Kings 2. I'm actually debating on doing a tutorial series for it. So until I do a tutorial series, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. What I am playing is a very complex game right now because I am running an empire. But what this game started with was just a single county in Westmoreland. And actually, so this is a good opportunity to actually kind of go back to the thing we were talking about in terms of the way that the games work. So, watch Tekros stream Endless Legend. You learned a lot from him. Very enjoyable. Great. Or sorry, Tektos, not Tekros. Yeah, actually, I mean, and that's not, obviously that's not limited to fetches. I mean, for anybody who has questions about what I'm doing or what's going on, like, chat is what makes this streaming thing for me, right? I mean, I'd probably stream if I had an empty chat. I know I've done it before, but I would not enjoy it nearly as much if I didn't have people to interact with. So you guys know me well enough by now. I'm always going to find something to talk about, but this is a game which I wish more people could enjoy, and if there's anything that I can do to bridge that gap, please let me know. It's, you know, it's anything that I'm saying is either going to be not important enough to remember to talk about when I finish the answer to the question, or alternatively, if it's important, I can set it aside and we can go back to it. So I'm just taking a minute to write down that streamer name so I can check them out when I'm off duty. Fever is gone, my nose is dry, the headache is long gone, and I feel alive once again. So yeah, when we played this game, we started off as a single county, Westmoreland, and that is actually in some ways the easiest way to get into Crusader Kings, because you don't, like, all you care about is your family's well-being. If the kingdom gets captured, as long as you hold on to your territory, I don't care if it's Muslims, I don't care if it's, you know, the Byzantine Empire, you know, anybody could take over. I mean, the Mongols could take over Britannia, and as long as I keep my territory, I don't necessarily mind who's ruling. Now, the House of Rose is not one to be ruled. Clearly, we are fighters who build ourselves an empire. But, you know, this is probably my third Iron Man playthrough and like my fifth Crusader Kings playthrough, so there's still a lot of stuff that I need to learn. And part of that was just expanding the empire out and sort of learning what the interactions were. Okay, so I've got a kid I need to get rid of. I mean, the fastest thing for me to do is just marry them off to a Carling. Let's see if there's any available. Well, that or look for a convenient alliance. So Greeks might be worthwhile. Oh, Tektos is a YouTuber. That's okay. Well, that's almost possibly even more convenient for me, just because I don't need to worry about scheduling. So, well, no, because actually I might want to conquer Greek territory, so that would be, I don't think that would be a good idea. Yeah, so what we'll do here is, this is just a fast, you know, way to get some prestige. We're just going to sort by dynasty. We're going to look for Carlings, who are here somewhere. And, by the way, Fetches, it looks like I got a follow notification from you, but I don't believe my alert went off, so I apologize for that. Thank you very much for hitting follow, and apologies to everybody else who might have followed and I didn't notice. I don't know if the API isn't working or what, but definitely appreciated, and do not take silence on that front as not caring. I actually believe you pushed us to 150 followers, so nice little milestone there. Okay, this is an example of an ideal marriage. So, I mean, well, as close to ideal. When he turns 16, this is going to be he's going to be old enough to marry off. It gives me an alliance with the French, who, let's face it, is probably not actually going to be involved, but is a Carling. So in this case, there you are. So in this case, I gain some prestige just by marrying him into House Carling, and possibly get an alliance that I would want. So within 1 year, this is going to be taken care of. Oh, a group of hedge knights have come to visit Britannia. Duke Aelfred has met with them and asks for my reply. Welcome them with a lavish feast. I lose about 30 gold, but gain 10 prestige. And as always, we pay for their medication and send them on their way because the Hedge Knights always participate in minor tournaments together with our knights in Westmoreland, and one of the landless vagabonds becomes severely injured. But yeah, so, I mean, the catch with Crusader Kings, or well, any of these grand strategy games, really. So the concept of grand strategy is more than just, you know, like you'll play a game like Men of War or something like that, which, you know, I did with Dahlia last week. And you have, you know, the strategy that you employ on a battlefield. You know, you've got real-time strategy like StarCraft. Or you've got turn-based strategy, which would be a little bit more like Endless Legend. And it's very much focused on the battlefield, whereas these Paradox Grand Strategy games are very much focused with how do you use all of the resources of the state to achieve your goals? You know, how do I put political pressure on people in addition to the fact that I have military might to accomplish my goals? And these games take it one step further, and this is what Fetches was talking about, which is the game doesn't assign you, you know, I mean, there's achievements that you can earn in the Iron Man playthroughs, but it doesn't say, you know, the object of this game is to form the Empire of Britannia. That was a goal that I set for myself. You know, and I think this is some of the fun of the game because, of course, you know, this game has been very much alive, and we've got sort of these memes about Grandpa and all of these different, you know, all these different events. I mean, for crying out loud, we had a member of a family who renounced his claims on this, you know, this great dynasty, the House of Rose, so he could go and join holy orders. And then a generation later, we run into him on the road to Jerusalem and become best friends. I mean, these are the wonderful things that come out of a game that doesn't necessarily force you to one particular objective. But unfortunately, it's a fantastic example of existential angst. You know, you're cursed to be free, and so you don't quite know what to do with yourself. So, I mean, some of the fun is in creating your own goals, but of course, creating your own goals come from having a little bit of an idea about how the game works. And because the game is so beautifully detailed and complex, that's really where the problems run into. Like, I don't necessarily know the first time that at least when I played it, I didn't know the difference between a count and a duke. Now I do. I mean, there are historical figures in here that I didn't know about before I started playing, and now I do because I played those figures. But all of those wonderful little details assume that somebody has a non-trivial amount of time and a near infinite amount of patience to work through that stuff. So, yeah, honestly, Fetches, it's the way to go. There's another game by Paradox called Europa Universalis, which I've had a little trouble getting into just because I haven't quite gotten a handle of the rules. I seem to be running into combat that winds up sort of obliterating me, and you know, I have nothing to show for it in the end, basically. But it's one where, you know, because Crusader Kings 2 is very much about the individual, right? Like, this is me right now. I can be represented through these numbers on a page, you know, as pathetic as they are. And this is different from, you know, Wulfnoth, who had this set of numbers and this set of personality traits. Oh, he was a dwarf. I had no idea. You know, I can basically go through this family tree of badasses and tell you a little bit about each one of them. And, I mean, the game has built into it its own set of ambitions. My current ambition is to improve my stewardship. Whereas Europa is this idea of the nation state. And so, you know, my personal game of Europa, which I'm not streaming, I'm playing Japan, and I've just achieved the goal of uniting Japan. Yeah, exactly. And this is the beauty of Crusader Kings 2, in my opinion, or at least the comparison between Crusader Kings 2 and Europa Universalis 4, which is the mechanics of the game very much reflect the time that they were in. And my hope is that I believe there is a Victoria 3 coming out, and I know Hearts of Iron 4 has already been announced. So my hope is once they are all updated and on the same engine, we can maybe hope to see a conversion from Crusader Kings to Europa to Victoria to Hearts of Iron, so you get to tell this, you know, 4-game epic. Alright, my liege. My work in Pharaoh seems to have come to fruition. By bribing, cajoling, extorting, threatening, and forging documents, I have managed to fabricate a claim on the county of Pharaoh, presently held by Commander Stefan of Pharaoh. I leave it up to you whether to use it or not. Of course we're going to use it. It's also rather fortunate because there's just been a bunch of Teutonic Order troops that have come up, which means they probably just started going to war. Yeah, so they're currently dealing with the Abbasid invasion of Greece. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to wait until they walk away. I'm probably going to lose some piety for attacking somebody who's fighting, you know, people who are not the same religion. But it does present an opportunity for me to kind of break through and gain access to these two counties which are not held by the Teutonic Order. Also, it'll hopefully thin out their rank, because they have 21,000 troops. Now, again, I outnumber them. I've probably got about 53,000 troops. So raw numbers, I can beat them. But of course, I've only got 7,000 of these troops hanging around right now. So we'll just run this out for a little bit and see where they go. More castle towns, so that's more revenue for me. And the marriage. So basically just waiting for these guys to clear out. It'd be great if I could get a little bit more information about where they're moving. I mean, right now they've got about a 5,000 stack, and I don't see what direct... Actually, let's see what direction they move. It is a little dangerous to do this just because, again, they're more or less in full strength. So if they decide to turn on me, that's going to be a problem. Not an insurmountable one. Okay, oh. Keep walking away, and then... Alright, you know what? You only YOLO once, so... Let's just do it. I'll try and get... What I'll try and do is... They've got about a 2,000 troop advantage on me right now, but I also have provinces that I can call on here, so hopefully the vassal levies will tide me over. So, claim Pharaoh. Yeah, so this is just enough for me to get through. Assuming that, I mean, if they make a beeline for me, this is going to be a problem. But what we'll do is we'll at least prepare by getting people into a position, and then I'll decide what to do with my remaining forces once I see the Teutonic Orders. Basically, I want to see how they react to this move. They could deal with the bigger threat of the Abbasid Empire, or they could decide that protecting their own territory is more important, at which point I get into a little bit of trouble. And I'll actually start working on a claim on the Byzantine Empire's territory right now. And that is definitely poking a bear, because if you look at the Byzantine Empire, 68,000 troops in raw numbers does beat me. How many hours into this current game? I don't actually know. I suppose I could take my YouTube videos and sum those up. But we have to be hitting... There's got to be at least 100 hours into this game. I would be surprised if it was anything less. Now, one thing that scares me a little bit about these boats is if they decide to do an invasion of one of the islands. That's going to be a real pain to try and deal with. But it looks like this 8,000 troop stack isn't actually doing anything, so I'm a little lucky with that. This is something of a source of concern because there's a lot of boats. But again, if they're landing on English soil, I'm not at all worried. I also got to keep an eye on this corner because I'm almost certainly going to starve my troops to death. And again, we're getting really lucky. Like, this is the most reckless pathing in the world, right? These guys just need to cross the border and they'll wipe them out. But it looks like they're not doing that. I also have a bit of a decision to make. So what I could try and do is I could try and take Faro immediately in just one big blitz. And that's sort of basically just saying that, okay, the Teutonic Order is not going to amass its troops in time to defend it, which is a fairly large assumption on my part. The other thing I could do is I can try and crush these troops. I am ultimately going to lay siege to Faro here. And the reason for that is I'm not entirely sure the time that it's going to take me to chase these guys down is any better than just directly laying siege to Faro. But again, the entire time, this stack is sort of holding by and making sure that they're ready to jump into the fray if it comes up. Yeah, so they're coming in to defend. So it looks like we're basically going to have this fight anyway, which I'm okay with because I currently outnumber them. It also just said I had a bunch of sieges going on, so I'm a little worried about... Ah! So it looks like they're going to try taking some of my northern holdings. Oh, okay, fair enough. So, well, this is absolutely fantastic news, right? So that's 11... They've got 20,000 troops. 11,000 of them are sieging a province that I could care less about. I mean, it'll suck for my war score. 8,000 of them are tied up here, and I know I win that fight. So, generally, this is looking up for me. I do need to make sure that I keep enough pressure on them to sort of carry the day. But, I mean, if it comes down to it, I just take my giant stack and punch them. Okay, so now people are starving to death. Let's cut it in half. And I think I am going to raise fleets, actually. So this is going to be an incredibly expensive proposition, but... It's actually kind of neat, because this is one of the first times that I'm actually going up an opponent that poses something of a credible threat. So, this is a good practice for when I go up against the Abbasid Empire that unquestionably outnumbers me. And so the only way that I can possibly win would be on intelligent use of troops. In this case, I wind up abusing the fact that I'm playing against an AI. Obviously, a real life opponent would definitely have some strategic say. They would acknowledge the fact that they severely outnumber me, and they would, they'd push that to their advantage. They'd know that right now they're bleeding troops laying siege to a province which I don't personally own and really won't care that much if I lose. Whereas I'm poised to eradicate their only real defense of the territory that we're fighting over. With, 20,000 troops, or 40,000 troops rather, coming in as backup at any minute. Okay, so that can carry 23,000 troops. I'm definitely not going to need the rest of these boats. This is going to have a pretty negative effect on people's opinion of me, unfortunately. Like my vassal's opinion, just because I'm raising so many troops unnecessarily. Ah, now that's a problem. So the way I handled it, right now they are currently fighting and they're at half health. So we start... Wow, that is a unnecessarily large fleet. We get these guys on boats as soon as possible and we drop them off. Where do we drop them off? I'm really worried about putting them so close to the enemy forces. But I think this will have to do. And what I'll do here is I'm actually going to disband all of the troops except for the 300 here. Actually, I just need the 254. And I'll be able to bring another 20,000 troops. The critical thing here is that this is really it. Like, if I mess up on this defense, then I'm in a really bad spot. So I want to make sure that I don't land them in patently ridiculous places, because I'm also going to suffer that disembarking penalty. Alright, so they're already on the move. I might want to just drop these guys directly into... No, I really can't afford to put them directly into the province. So this is a little scary, just because in the end they are going to outnumber me. But I think the timing should work out. Okay, so they arrive on March the 7th and March the 12th. They arrive March the 16th at less than ideal morale, but it's enough to tip the scales in my favor. Actually, looks like they're going for broke. They arrive on the 9th, 15th. Okay, so this is going to be a bit of a problem. Well, I still outnumber them 2-1, so... I think I have to abandon the siege in this case. I mean, it's close. Let's see what's happening in the battle. So I outnumber them. Okay, their flank is about to break, so this is really risky. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to maintain the siege. My assumption here is if you watch this leftmost flank, that's going to break, and so they're going to be able to clobber these guys. Oh, actually, they're already broken. They're currently running. So basically the idea here is they're going to be putting some pressure on the middle column, which is already outnumbered. This is a really strong flank, right? 6,000 troops. So this outnumbers any single one of these troops. But again, it's going to be a fairly costly battle. Yeah, okay. So... that turned out to work a lot better than expected. So here I'm just going to get rid of the boats because they're really costly. I'm absolutely committing every single troop to this conflict, though. I think it would be irresponsible for me to do otherwise. I also have a little bit of a decision to make here. Okay, so it looks like they have abandoned the siege. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to get these guys to run through Teutonic Order territory. I'm just basically going to do some cleanup duty. I'm going to keep chasing these guys down. Basically, this is just to annihilate them. I do want to make sure that I'm dealing with the most credible defenses. What I do need to decide is how many of their forces do I really want to eliminate, because in the end they're going to be a drag on the Abbasid Empire. Unfortunately, I think my hand's going to be forced, because I think taking territory is not going to be enough to win this campaign. So what would be best is if I just take the territory and leave their troops intact. But in this situation here, I also want this war to be over as quickly as possible because I'm going to be paying for this in several different ways, chiefly through the relationships with my vassals. Hey, EP Warrior the Lord, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by. My kingdom, well, once upon a time it was the lowly county of Westmoreland. And son, one day all this will be yours. We were subjected by Vikings, we fought for our independence. We became the kings of Scotland, we invaded England afterwards, took Ireland, took Iceland, and are slowly working our way through Spain. So currently we are the Empire of Britannia. And at the moment we're fighting this horrific Teutonic Order, which is sort of a combination of donations and successful crusades, which was a great shame because I would have all of these holy war casus belli otherwise. For those of you curious about the answer to that previous question, do I wipe them out or not? I think you're kind of seeing the answer here. It's nice to have a buffer against, 100,000 screaming Muslims, but not at the cost of my vassals completely hating me. So let's close down some of these minor. A lot of these notices that I just kind of go through on the low priority are effectively things that menus have already told me. So sometimes I read the irrelevant stuff a little bit too much. So the next thing that I need to focus on, I'll get a big bonus to my war score by taking the territory that we're fighting over. The next thing that I can do to end the conflict quickly is find out what the Hockmaster has. Oh, and it looks like all of his holdings are in places we can't really access. Yeah, so the normal strategy would be to make a beeline for these personal holdings of him to really just squeeze his personal holdings and make him feel the hurt. But the best we can do here is just take the territory that we're going after. I've more or less decimated their army. Let's just see what they're sitting at. Oh, 13,000 troops. But, I mean, again, any one of these... Okay, with the exception of the most well-defended stack, because there's always going to be two counties of a larger force protecting them. Basically, I can take on his remaining troops with anything that I brought over. So in this case, we're just going to slowly eat away as many counties as we can and get this over with. I will ultimately pay for this through attrition, but it's better than just letting the war drag out. I also kind of get to gobble up a few of these smaller units, actually. There was an 800 unit over here, but it's not really worth leaving the county for that. I am pretty close to the end date. We began in 867, so this has been a nice long playthrough. The goal was to really take over Spain, but that's not really a realistic goal anymore, just because of the time it'll take to get valid casus belli on the remaining territories. But I had apocalyptic dreams of the forces of Christendom fighting the Mahometans and on the plains of Megiddo, but probably not going to happen. Oh, hello. Not quite sure where these troops came from, but looks like they are heading to Trolla. So this alone is double the... I mean, these guys can handle them on their own, but I definitely like unfair fights. So because these were just targets of opportunity anyway, I'm going to reinforce this stack. The Byzantine Empire is gonna make you laugh, AP the Warrior of the Lord. So, I mean, this is kind of what it should look like. I mean, I really don't know what's going on over here. I think this was thanks to the Golden Horde. Obviously, the Abbasids have done well for themselves. But then we have odd things like this. So, Holy Roman Empire could never really happen, but at least there's the Byzantine Empire. I have no idea where I got this county from, by the way. Just one day I woke up and I had Burgonne. And I only found out because somebody was invading it. So, I mean, this I can get... Well, we'll zoom out as far as we can just to show what's going on. So, this stuff in the middle I can kind of understand. A little bit of creative license, but nothing out of the ordinary. But I don't know what to say about this. Okay, so here's the drawback of my clever scheming. I'm starving to death. So I've only got, it's 10,000 troop. Well, yeah, let's split this a little more evenly. I don't necessarily like this decision, but 17 should be able to take care of itself. I'm not entirely sure why these two groups aren't fighting, though. Basically, I'm just going to wait for an actual conflict to break out, and otherwise I'm just going to sit and lay siege to provinces. What's with India? Sorry, I didn't notice what's... I only recently got the... I only recently got this expansion, so I don't know what it's supposed to look like, but it seems like there's one really big empire. Hello. I realized that was not a German symbol originally, but it's still really... it's unique to see a swastika in a game that isn't Wolfenstein. Man, 77,000. So really, the non-Christian world can just completely eradicate us if they got their act together. Yeah, I really can't say what's going on with India just because this... India just kind of showed up halfway through this playthrough, courtesy of a Paradox sale on Steam. History tends to change based on the quality of deals that are found on Steam in my playthroughs. We're also running out of money, but the war's going to be over soon. Actually, one thing I can do, if I haven't already, is take down any fleets. Seeing as this was basically a good Christian playthrough, the plan once this is done is maybe to consider a... I'd love to play like a republic of some kind, but it would be neat to play, something pagan and turn it into a republic. Right, not a problem. Thanks a lot for stopping by, EP Warrior the Lord. It was a pleasure chatting with you. Hope to see you again. And have a very good night. I've heard Octreda to hand the buzzard over to the falconer, but was careless enough to forget to put on its hood, then lost my grip on the Jessies and the bird flew to freedom. She'll kill me for this. Okay, well, my wife's mad at me. What else is new? Hey, Kite, how's it going? Good to see you again as always. We're currently fighting with our good Christian brothers in Spain, and winning, but we're also bankrupting the kingdom in the process. Oh, and we just won. So here we offer peace, enforce the demands, which, again, unfortunately is really just gaining one county. But it's more than I had before. And I can create a new duchy, which I will, because my son needs a title. Although I have a feeling I'm going to be handing that off to... Thanks, I'm fine. Oh, wow. Get back in our territory so I can disband you.
I would never want to belong to any club that would have someone like me.
AP Warrior the Lord, thank you so much for hitting that follow button. DJ Cool Crusader, how's it going? Sorry I didn't see that before. I'm watching my empire go broke. Hopefully this will fix it. And I finally got to reunite my retinues. That was actually really stupid of me to create that title at such a low treasury. So I just made the Duchy of Algrave, and actually my son already owns that, so he gets Faro, and my heir still doesn't have anything to call his own. There's a side of me that wants to... You know what? Bandits and things like that can become a very expensive proposition. So I am actually going to borrow the 300 from Jewish merchants. The plan is to pay that back as soon as possible. And part of that is going to come through hostages. But just to prevent the negative side effects from being in debt, I think it's better to borrow now. 50 gold is not a lot to pay to prevent smugglers. Especially because, let's face it, we're going to be making this all back through the hostages. Alright guys, there's some new faces that just stopped by. I'm about 20 minutes late for my first break tonight, so thank you everybody. There's a really healthy turnout tonight, so I want to say thank you everybody for coming by. I know Crusader Kings 2 isn't for everyone, but the people who do like Crusader Kings 2 seem to like it a lot. I like playing it for you guys, but I have been dying for a glass of water for quite some time. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes. I'm going to get up, do a bit of a stretch. I encourage you guys to do the same. Be sure to take care of yourselves. And then we'll be back to continue the misadventures of the House of Rose. Akakadak! Great to see you again, too. I'm still going on my break, though. I'll catch up with you when I get back.
I would never want to belong to any club that would have someone like me for a member.
All right, thank you everybody for hanging in there with me. Oh, glad to hear that you're Lurkanak Akadak. Let's just take a quick second here. We've got all familiar faces. Killing Floor 2, Black Dahlia was speaking very highly of that game. Obviously not something I can play myself, seeing as this is currently Mac only. It's not that Crusader Kings is Mac only, but the stream is currently Mac only because it was my... I mean, this machine is ostensibly to do my econometrics work. But, you know, if you have the option to put in a good graphics card in it, nobody was hurt by a little bit of game. Actually, definitely somebody was hurt by a little bit of gaming. I passed all my courses this term, and I believe I am secured for grad school. But my econometrics class definitely could have been better. And Dota 2 is partly to blame. Not entirely to blame, but partly to blame. So, what can I say? You live, you learn. I will definitely be sure. Like, grad school is definitely a time when you know, all bets are, you know, you can't be promising forever. That's really the point that I need to perform. And I fully intend to, you know, to live up to some of the expectations that my referees put into those letters. But with that in mind, it's actually one of the reasons why I've been trying to price out a proper PC gaming machine that would also allow me to stream. And I'm sort of coming up with a determination. One consideration, of course, is the, you know, balancing the cost of school with what is effectively a fun thing, right? It's great that PC prices have gone down, but it's still it's still material. But the next thing I want to consider too is to make sure that I don't get something like that and it becomes a distraction from what is my primary focus, because, you know, I like streaming and it's something that I intend to do while doing grad school. But I don't want it to become something that, like, I never want there to be a point where I could do some work on economics, which doesn't get done because of gaming. So with that in mind, my current setup is adequate. My bigger constraint is actually my bandwidth, which hopefully would be solved if I go to residence. And with that in mind, there's some sacrifices that get made in terms of the types of games that I can play. But that's just a really long way of saying that Killing Floor 2 looks really interesting, and I hope one day to get a chance to play it. Just finished reading all 8 chapters of the manga you were reading. You didn't die from pure reading. Pure reading is fun. Well, actually, I should say, there are actually a couple of friends that I have that are... Oh, hello. My gay son just lost his wife. So ideally I find a lustful 16-year-old, but... Okay, plan B. Is there a 16-year-old Carling? "17-year-old Carling." Man, lots of gluttonous. The only drawback with gluttonous is the attraction rating goes down. Now, it's not explicit to me how that affects the ability to have kids, but I'm assuming attraction does have a role in it. But whatever, we'll roll the dice. It's another alliance with France. They're 17, so that's good childbearing age. He's still 21. And more importantly, it's a big prestige boost. So, I mean, minus 200 from marrying the relative of an account, but 532 prestige from the marriage. Now, this isn't going to me personally, it's going to my heir, but that's fine, because that's who I'm going to be playing next turn anyway. But yeah, on the point of reading, I've got a couple of friends who legitimately do not derive pleasure from from the written word, it seems. Just don't have a mind for it. Which, I mean, fair enough. But I know one of the drawbacks I ran into sometimes on my breaks I'd grab a book off the shelf and just kind of leaf through it, and the next thing I know, I'm kind of coming up on the end of the 3 minutes, so I need to be a little more careful about that kind of stuff. Oh, reading a romance manga of 70 chapters. And you're forever alone. Pure reading is a killer. Oh, there's no such thing as forever alone. Bled Gallad. I mean, for what it's worth, I had I really don't like talking about this stuff on stream, but there was a very charming PhD student that just I thought the world got along very well with, and didn't have a boyfriend for the longest time, but I also didn't make any, I wasn't sure, so I didn't make any definitive move, and it was actually through I mean, this is of course assuming any interest on her part, but I was told a couple of leading indicators that she would be interested, but I suspect for want of me making a decisive action, she did actually find herself a boyfriend, which was a shame. So with that in mind, I will sympathize with you, but still don't believe in forever alone. I'll just say I'm married to the profession, man. I also will admit I've never read a manga. I know that means I need to turn in my nerd credentials, but it's not been something to cross my radar. I mean, anime I've been a little bit thin on as well. Not for dislike. I really like the Miyazaki films. I think a good friend of mine from Japan lent me Mononoke. It's Princess Mononoke in English, I think. She's from Japan, so I didn't have the option of it of the English title. I'm almost certain it's Princess Mononoke though. I saw Sen no Chihiro. It's the one about the little girl and the who gets lost in the spirit world and needs to get the true name of things. Girls are overrated, Red Payton? Yeah, I don't know. They're really nice to be around. I like them, but I don't. I think the difficulty is on that topic, especially with some of the people, like, I mean, I hang around with a lot of gamers, at least online. And I think the problem is that there seems to be this undue weight that gets put on, you have to have a girlfriend, or you need to somehow be validated through being attractive to women or something like that. There seems to be this really weird focus on it, and it could just be that maybe people are not very secure about that, and so those insecurities fuel that kind of feeling. But I think it's a big shame, because I think the drawback is that it first of all creates a distorted view of, for lack of a better term, relationships. I really don't, again, this is sort of falling out of the realm of stuff that I normally talk. Ask me about GDP, I'll tell you everything you want to know. But this sort of dealing with people's feelings is always a little more difficult, because it's usually a very personal thing. But I just think people kind of get sold a lot of really garbage information, and I think, even if you think of like a bully or something like that, right? So somebody, a computer game nerd doesn't get girls or anything like that. One, not true. But, any point of insecurity is going to become a line of attack for somebody. And I think what that does is something that is ultimately not a big deal suddenly becomes a really big deal. And it leads to a lot of unhappiness. And yeah, your married girls are overrated. I will say, yeah, thank you, Blood Gallon. Spirited Away. Not forever alone, forever available. Yeah. The friends of mine that I know who are married are really happily married with each other. But I don't see... Personally, I don't see marriage as something that's a high priority for me. Man, this guy's really paranoid about his food. Oh god, I got the ill trait. 10% chance of that. Oh well. Yeah, I don't know how clear I was on that point, but it just seems to be something that comes up once in a while. It might also just be because of some of the modding stuff that I need to do. My wife has retired to the convent for a short while to gather her thoughts and find some peace. Maybe even God. I don't like any of these options. So, perfect opportunity to spend time with my lover, 50% chance of losing piety, and there's a pregnancy. Hey! Apparently getting my rocks off with my young lover is the fantastic way to get rid of illness. Yeah, the comfort my lover offered me resulted in her being pregnant. Gained 5 prestige. Looking for a new court chaplain. I know we already checked this before, but it doesn't hurt just to make sure that there's no heresies that have cropped up. Yeah, we're all good, so... Gonna do some cultural research. I actually also saw that we had some opportunities to get some upgrades, so I'll worry about those next. And there was another thing I was gonna do before that. I don't remember. So I can upgrade siege equipment or heavy infantry. I'm really partial to siege equipment, actually, so we'll do that first. I can do pretty much anything in the economic advances. I believe if I do... No, I don't get another university if I improve my town infrastructure. Trade practices isn't really worth it because there aren't any ports connecting to me yet. So, or improved keeps, what'll that'll give me? So I would normally do town infrastructure in hopes. Oh, you know what? I don't get University 3 until the very end. So improved keeps is the way to go here because it gives me extra walls, which actually does improve my tax. And we already repaid that loan, right? Yes, we did. Let's hold a celebratory summer fair. Yeah, the DJ Cruel Crusader, the Byzantine so I mean, I don't know what's going on with these ones. The most perplexing one is what happened in between France and Germany. And then, like, at least here it's creative. Oh, okay, so also I don't know what's going on here with Germany, but you know, at least this is somewhat sensible. Like, this is a plausible, you know, series of events. I mean, cut in half by the Muslims, but you know, that's their problem, not mine so far. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're technically no better in our own empire. Like, we made a small adventure out to Scandinavia, but didn't really get anything else out of that. We somehow wound up with Bourgogne. Again, just one of these, one of those things. It's a pain to protect. And yeah, this is Byzantine, isn't it? Yeah. So Vienne again, just, you know, apparently they wanted a home in the mountains, so there they go. You know why you're single, you're too picky. I mean, wanting a girl with a good personality and his eyes to match is too much to ask for, right? Ah, the monkey trainer's back. We'll just give him his money. I don't want to ever see him again, but he always comes back next summer fair. Arguably, the monkey trainer dynasty has more staying power than the roses. I always freak out when the game starts loading like this. Usually means that the game is going to crash or my computer's going to crash. As I mentioned before, this is being streamed on a Mac, and I'm really grateful that OBS has expanded the platform to include Apple products. But unfortunately, it definitely bears the mark of an early stage of development. I have had a few kernel panics as a result, which does not always make for the best streaming experience. I believe we're still auto-canceling plots, which turned out to be the right thing to do, because there's only this one that came up, and they have a positive opinion of me, so I would have canceled it anyway. For the next generation, I will stop that policy. I'll go back to individually canceling them, but this seems a little more expedient just because I think we've been on this generation for what seems like forever. Monkey Trainer just wants a cut of the money? Absolutely. I bet he pays the monkey for beating him too. It's not too much to ask. You're the one thing you're gonna wake up to next. Better like what you're getting into. Red Pain's the one with experience. We should defer to him. What am I going up against when I fight the Byzantines? 5,400? Yeah, it's not that scary. They have to be weakened from a war, though. I refuse to believe that that's their full capacity. Yeah. They're hit hard. Oh, because they're fighting a caliphate, of course. You had a game as the Duchess of Italy and practically became Empress of most of Europe within 40 years. Well, that was the hope for this one, but a couple of successful crusades just mean we get bogged down in a bunch of diplomatic wrangling as we get our CBs. I mean, I guess the Duchess of Italy also has to deal with that, but yeah, now that I've really gotten a handle on playing every level of this game, you know, from Count to Duke to King to Emperor, I think it's going to be really interesting to try out some of the different starting points with a fuller knowledge of how the game works. Alright, my beloved wife, who's constantly nagging me, is constantly bored and keeps talking about the new fashion she's heard about. Now she wants me to introduce it at court. Let's see my options here, actually. So I can become charitable. I believe that's only positives. Yes. Quite a bit, actually. That diplomacy is really going to help. I could gain zealous, which would be... I mean, the piety is okay, save for the fact that he's 50, so I'm not really going to be generating it that much for that long. And I see no benefit for... Okay, well, the national tax modifier is one, but, I mean, we're okay at 794. So, my money's your money, darling. Good, charitable. A hot body doesn't mean anything if she acts like a bee. No, it's true. I mean, I mean, this is a conversation I've had with a couple of peoples. A couple of peoples. Ooh, long day. It's a conversation I've had with a couple of people, in that, you know, they're really focused on this idea of seeming shallow or something like that. A son was born to an unknown father named Bjorn. I wonder where he came from. Oh. My work in Nibella seems to have come to fruition. By bribing, cajoling, storing, threatening, and forging documents, you managed to fabricate a claim on the county of Nibella. That's a lot faster than I thought it was going to be. Use it! Tell your younger friends there's no such thing as... yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, in the end, I have met a lot of people who think they are unique in their taste. You know, it's like, oh, I find her attractive, but nobody else does. Maybe that's even true, but in the end, that's kind of all that matters. I suspect it would probably be more shallow to say, oh yeah, I'll only date somebody if my friends are impressed by them. Fortunately, I haven't talked with anybody who's like that. Okay, so we're gonna do something that could be really stupid. We've got 279 gold, and we are going to declare war on the Byzantine Empire. Now, this is a good time to do it because they're currently fighting the Abbasids, and these are sort of isolated provinces that they have, so it's unlikely they're going to be able to do anything about it. So my hope is that when I raise my troops, I'm just going to need the troops in Spain. Whether that's what actually happens is another matter. Black Dahlia, it's always a pleasure to see you here, especially on Crusader Kings nights. Byzantium does have many allies. Hopefully not the Teutonic Order. That's the only one I'm really worried about. Okay, Italy is a problem. And they don't like me that much, actually. Oh wait, yes they do. So if I'm lucky, they'll stay out of it. If I'm unlucky, I'll find out that they're called into the war. And I just need to raise my full levies. First girlfriend was hot, but she was also abusive and controlling. It helped you turn you into what you are. I hope that's. I hope that means something good, Blood Gallant. It sounds like it is, but. God, jeez. Hey, Jazzpoo, how's it going? All right. You know what, let's just hit unpause, see what disasters await me. Okay, somebody getting a title. Am I about to get away with murder? From Game of Thrones. Dahlia, I've only watched the TV show and I'm like 3 seasons behind. Although we will be playing the Game of Thrones mod at some point. Oh, come on. Okay, so we've got our revolution. Oh, 4,000. Stop wasting my time. That's not nearly enough. Oh, that's because it's my domain. This is almost certainly overkill, but apparently I hate money, so... Ah, no, I didn't count on that, but we're in a similar situation to what we had with the Teutonic Order. If this actually becomes a problem, then we just float some troops over. turned into a slight pushover. Stand up for yourself, Blugel. Actually, so I had an interesting experience in a Dota game last night where I'm of two minds of this. So I would like to think of myself as relatively thick. Oh, I need to pay attention to where this pathing's going. You know what? I don't even need this many troops. Good. These jokers in the middle. Been attacked. Temples. I'm just looking for those dreaded words. Ally has been called in. Shouldn't play the Game of Thrones mod yet. There's loads of is there? I mean, it looked really neat. I guess the good news is that I don't know enough about the... I guess I don't know enough about the stories to have detected the spoilers. It was also more complicated than I was expecting, so... Oh yeah, so I start talking about a Dota 2 experience and I completely... I stopped talking about it. So, I mean, just generally I like to think of myself as relatively thick-skinned, but what I don't... Okay, so maybe I will hold off playing Game of Thrones. I'll figure that out. I mean, summer's coming up. My final revisions of the thesis are due on the 6th, so when that's tucked away, the only reading I was planning on doing was just a bunch of, stats and math, so some fiction would probably be nice. Thanks, Fetches. Yeah, sorry. I probably didn't answer that much in terms of your questions, but like I said, I think based on this experience, I am going to try and do a series of video tutorials. I don't know how successful it will be, just because I suspect others have tried, and I haven't found a really great set yet, although I haven't looked that far. But we'll try and do something for you. And as always, feel free to stop by. Even if we're playing something different, I'll try and be as helpful as I can about Crusader Kings. Have a great night. As long as you don't play the 2 latest dates, I should be fine. Okay, that's fine. I normally, when I play games like this, I like to start at the earliest date and see how far it goes. I also know, my favorite character is Littlefinger, so I have a feeling I'm always just going to wind up playing him. Oh, you know what? I didn't even need to sacrifice troops to this. Although I suppose it doesn't hurt to have them up, because I'm going to have 6,000 angry Greeks coming up on my shores. So yeah, I mean, the one thing that I dislike about the culture of MOBAs and those kind of styles of games are the immediate assumption that raging or any kind of poor sportsmanship, bad attitude, whatever you want to call it, is in any way acceptable. And I ran into something like that. I was in a 5-stack with people that I know, and I mean, I basically called the guy out on it. It was attempting to assign blame for a situation which I had made a minor mistake, had acknowledged the error, and it was somebody else who brought it up. They brought it up, and that was the end of it, and he decided to basically pile on the issue. And I have nothing to gain from or lose. I mean, the thing I have to lose is any respect for myself at caring about the opinion of some guy who can't control his temper during a Dota game. But with that in mind, I absolutely do not like the fact that just because they're on the same team, they don't get called out for that kind of behavior. So, in this case, before the next game started, I basically said it outright that I needed an assurance that he was not going to behave that way in the next game, because my solution to that was very easy. I would either abandon if it was during the game, or I would I've never abandoned a Dota game. That would have been my first abandon. Or I just simply don't queue with them again. And it just turned into this big argument. Like, the guy wouldn't let up. He's busy just saying the most childish arguments. There's a point I was getting to on this, and I've lost it. Something about the attitudes in Dota games, but... Does anybody remember what the hell started me on this tangent? Oh god, okay. Well, while I'm working on this, I can claim Leon. Where is it? Do I want it? Next door. Okay, it would involve me taking it from Burgundy? If I had a connection, I'd maybe do it, but I don't really think it's worth it. The word pushover started. Oh, right, yeah. So I mean, the hardest determination that I have is, like, basically what is at stake from either the aggressor in a situation like this, or somebody who is feeling put out by this kind of behavior is ego, right? Clearly I'm not going to be giving the most objective analysis of it, but I think he was feeling really bad that he had severely lost his lane, and it was actually against a group of people that we had just beaten very hard the game before. And, like, he was definitely throwing out some BM in chat, specifically at this guy who's now destroying him in lane. So, I mean, I think the important thing on that one, as far as being a pushover is concerned, like, I think in the end, if you're mad at somebody because they're calling you names on the internet, it's just a matter of, and I realize this isn't what you're specifically talking about for being a pushover, but it reminded me of the story. Like, I think in the end, the important reaction on that situation is recognize how absolutely minor it is that this person is calling you names on the internet. They are going to have absolutely no bearing on your life other than how you react to that behavior. But on the flip side, I strongly oppose the fact that this is the sort of stuff that just kind of goes by or people accept as being ordinary behavior. Like, I can definitely understand people becoming short during a game because they're very competitive. They involve a large time investment. And emotions are difficult to control. But as far as I'm concerned, like, you get one statement, you get to call somebody a dummy once, and that's it. It doesn't become it doesn't become the gift that keeps on giving, as far as you crapping on some guy on your team is concerned. And more importantly, I do think you need to behave in a way that you would like to see in the game. So, as a result, I only got 2 games of Dota in last night because I decided not to accept that behavior. Anyways, I think there was a better point that I had when I was starting that, but that was the best I could wrap it up with. Would have been wonderful if I recorded the conversation so you can hear what I sound like when I argue. I was definitely not the most gallant interlocutor. I definitely was. I definitely articulated when I thought certain bounds were being crossed. All right, so, I mean, this isn't quite holding pattern mode. We are slowly gaining ground on the Byzantine Empire, but basically here we're just sort of putting out these faction fires. This isn't so much for, like, this guy can handle himself, but it's mostly just to make sure I don't have a big problem for my heir to deal with, because especially with the short reign modifier, he's going to have a really hard time for his starting years. And especially with a weakened military after fighting with the Byzantines, I definitely don't want to be dealing with revolutions. Still no allies got drawn in, which is good. Unfortunately, still sitting at 50,000 military. My big worry here was that there was about 15,000 troops. They could be walking over here. And I'm not going to get that much notice when they show up. I'm still going to risk it. I'm just going to keep sieging and hope for the best. But, Prince Bob of Britannia is now of legal age. He became an indulgent wastrel. And as always, we'll marry him to a Carling, because we want that sweet, sweet prestige. We'll marry him to a German. I mean, I'd prefer somebody older than 13, but I'll have to live with it. Should give my heir the kingdoms of Portugal and Leon. So, why do you say that, DJ Cool Crusader? Is this just to deal with the unlanded sons problem? Crusade for Jerusalem. His Holiness Pope Leo VII has been swayed by the cries for help from the Christian populations in the Jewish Kingdom of Jerusalem. He urges all able-bodied men of Europe to take up arms against the evil Caliph Jabir in order to save Jerusalem from the clutches of the Mohammedan infidels. God will grant the pilgrims remission of sins in heaven. Deus Vult! I think actually, out of hand, I will accept the crusade, and we'll just use the remnants of this invasion. The main reason for accepting this crusade is actually to gain some intelligence on where the Byzantine Empire is currently located, right? Because when you have these allied troops, you're actually going to be able to see where everybody is. Looks like I don't actually have a whole lot to worry about. It would possibly be desirable to engage them, you know, here in Italy so that I can get the additional war score from facing them in combat. But that's a really long trip to make. It'd be easier just to gobble up one of these counties. Maybe I'll take the army in Alsace. We'll see whether or not they're hanging out. But the best thing I can do right now is actually take the area that's being contested, and then, you know, I'll get a ticking war score from that, and then I can worry about my the incremental improvements from other things. So my son won't get that short reign thing in Iberia. Also, he'll get loads of prestige. That's a good point. So, Limel, thank you very much for showing up. I too am happy that there is a Crusader Kings 2 stream, even if I don't get to watch it, if I'm playing it. But I know every once in a while somebody's on, and I do enjoy watching this game myself. So thanks for stopping by. I'll let you know that I'd still like to classify this as a variety cast, but what I've done is I've dedicated Fridays to Crusader Kings 2 because it's a little bit of a polarizing choice. Some people will only watch Crusader Kings, and other people will, you know, watch anything but. So if you are in need of a fix, we're very happy to have you here each and every Friday. Obviously, I mean, if the muse moves me, I'm not going to limit it just to Fridays, but I wanted to commit at least a day to this game, and then also respect the fact that it's not everybody's cup of tea. Well, we're always happy to have you here, so thanks a lot for giving the stream a chance. I know it's not the best quality. That's unfortunately a limitation of my my internet package. So we're always grateful to have the the folks that stop by and stay. We're already sending our spy master on that, and that's actually a really good point, DJ Cool Crusader. So let's grant him some kingdoms. My one worry is that it does remove my. It does remove my my levies that I was getting from there. Actually, no, I'm not holding those anymore, so that doesn't matter. Wait a minute, I'm holding the duchy as well? What is... Huh, I didn't even know I was holding that. Looks like I need to do a little bit of work. Okay, so where's the Duchy of Galatia? Okay, well the first thing I can do is just hand over the duchy on its own. And now we will give him...
I would never want to belong to any club.
Oh, Limmel, that's... I don't know if there's a delay on that alert, but thank you very much for following. You're currently trying to unite Russia, and you spent half the game trying to figure out how to convert to Catholicism from pagan. I actually haven't had to do that myself, so... And technically it's Saturday where you are. Actually, yeah, it just became... Saturday for me, too. Well, thanks a lot for watching Crusader Kings 2. No, we'll keep going, so... it's the transition time that we accept as well. So yeah, we'll give him... give him some kingdoms. All right, that's enough. $3 a.m. here. Guess I gotta leave. Yep. Crusader Kings 2 is over, guys. This is a Dota 2 stream now. Either you have to have the Catholics send a bishop to you, or you capture a Christian woman, take her as a concubine, and have her convert you with the latter. Yeah, I don't see that as really an option. Plan B sort of seems to be the only way to go. All right, yeah. So, I mean, it would be nice to get the Crusader modification, or sorry, the Crusader trait as well. Well, it looks like we're losing a lot of factions. Not that I'm complaining. In this case, I'm not going to hope to be the top contributor to the Crusade. In fact, I suspect this is going to be one that fails. But this is mostly just so we can gain a little bit of intelligence in terms of where the Byzantine Empire is hiding out. Let's just make sure they're not invading anything important. And then on top of that, if I do get the opportunity, you know, I'll march over to Jerusalem. But again, the Abbasid Empire is really big, and the AI is not very smart. So I don't have high hopes for the recapture of Jerusalem. But we'll see. Where did they come from? Oh, thankfully they came out of a boat, so we should still be good, but Jesus, that was frightening. Oh crap, it's turning. But they lost their flank, so we're good. How badly did they hit us? Well, we almost lost as many as they did. So, the good news on this is we just started the siege, so I'm actually going to chase them down, which is reckless to say the least, because they definitely outnumber me. But we should still be able to carry it. Oh, maybe not. We're about to lose the middle, and I suspect I just screwed us. Yeah, that was a remarkably foolish decision on my part. And because this is a Paradox game, I naturally lose 6,000 troops to their severely weakened forces. Okay. So the way we deal with that is we disband them. The retinue's been decimated, so we'll just get those as far away as we can. And we take off the kid gloves. How many troops do the Abbasids have? Almost certainly over 100,000. Oh, wow. No, they're really weak. 48,000. Okay, so we might actually be able to take Jerusalem in this case. And they're bleeding cash. I'm really surprised by that, actually, because the last I checked on them, they were over 100,000. Their decadence was really high. But it wasn't, it wasn't a major source of concern. I'm just gonna disband the troops in this area. So yeah, that really sucks that I wasn't paying better attention on this front. Yeah, I mean, in the end, they're bringing together 20,000 troops, but I'm going to have 40 to meet them with. The thing I'm a little bit more worried about is their ability to retake that province. But we should be able. I don't know. I guess it depends how fast the troops walk. Looks like they're losing a fairly healthy amount too. I can always hire mercenaries as well, but I really want to avoid that because I'm already going to be paying quite a bit as far as levies are concerned. Oh, is the static back? Has that improved anything? Okay, actually let's just take these 20,000 and move them right away. Again, I'm pretty sure I lose the... Shayla's justice brought peace to a troubled province. Fewer crimes are committed and fewer complaints are heard in the province. The peasants have never been happier. I don't believe I've ever had this event happen, but I sure am happy. Okay, great, thanks. Yeah, this is another thing that comes up. I'm not entirely sure what causes it yet, but every once in a while my mic is going to start making funny noises. And it's a fairly easy fix, but I don't have the benefit of hearing the stream, so I am somewhat reliant on your good graces to find out about the trouble. It's probably bringing too many boats, but it's, I think it's best that I over-prepare for this one. They're all so expensive. Okay, so that probably deals with the problem. I always prefer to ask... Well, actually, no, I tend to prefer blackmailing over anything, but... Wow, I don't have that many good spy masters. I mean, 16 isn't a disaster, but... I definitely have... I've had better spy masters in the past. So just back to scheming there. I have a feeling we're probably going to wind up robbing the Jewry. If you were that red continent, then blood would be spilled across the land. None would be spared when the dahlias spill forth. Well, you're about to see that when the House of Rose spills forth. Calm down, calm down. Honored Emperor, do not speak to me of obligations and duties. I may well be your vassal, but that does not make me your slave. I am well within my full right to associate with whichever faction I wish. So... I guess the next visit from the Spy Master is to kill her? We'll see. You feel like you should try and read 10 more chapters right now? Well, I am late on my break again, but I kind of want to see how... I want to see how this turns out. They're only halfway on the siege, so we should be good. And let's disband some fleet levies, because those are going to bleed cash. It actually seems slightly wasteful to have the second stack of troops, but it's kind of late now. I think it's worth it to be a little over prepared in this case. Yeah, especially with 10,000 troops coming towards me. For those of you who don't know what we are referring to, Black Dahlia invited me onto his stream for a game of Men of War 2 Assault Squad, and he's quite insistent on us playing Germany in this World War II game. So, I played German to the hilt. He may not agree with my tactics, but we got the control points. So I mean, what I'm thinking right now, like obviously I'm running out of cash. Let's ask politely again. And hear my vassal yell at me. Okay, my troops are starving. But I really want to have 30,000 to deal with this 20,000. Yeah. Didn't like that. So basically, here's how I see this working out. I go into intrigue and I begin by borrowing the 300 from Jewish merchants. Now, I'm 53, so I have had longer-lived rulers before, but it's reasonable to think that this guy is not going to be alive that much longer. So, in principle, I could expel the Jewry, which means that I don't need to repay the loan, and of course I gain the benefits from it, and I can invite them back before I suffer any of the ill effects of the expulsion. But of course that is assuming that this doesn't turn out to be one of the longer-lived emperors. And of course, if he winds up dying before I actually do the expulsion, then I'm also in trouble. So we'll see how this goes right now. I'm just going to borrow the money and see whether or not I can finish the war on that. And then I think what'll happen is if I need to borrow again, that will be when I expel the Jewry. And this should be a piece of cake. What I'll do in this case... Bob Rose died! We hardly knew ye. Alright. So what we'll do here, especially because I really don't have space for all these guys, I will cut it in half. And we'll send the smaller of the two to chase these guys down. By the way, I really love the historical title, Basileus. Such a good name. Even if I'm going to war with them, it's a good, strong title. And actually, let's get these backup troops to do something useful. I think the largest thing I needed to worry about was 10,000 troops from the Byzantines, so I'll mop up what we have here in Spain, and then we'll think about maybe claiming some of those provinces in Central Europe. Back to Faro. This is the one thing I'm not crazy about, is the chasing them from province to province, because I definitely seem to capture fewer troops than they do. Also, the war score is really not that dramatically changed. We're still only at 24%. We'll go on the collision course. Half my gold for 50 cultural technic. No, not worth it. Maybe if I wasn't at war. Back to Faro. So hopefully we'll start seeing some jumps once I claim the core province and some of the extras. I mean, if I want to go to their personal holdings, I'm gonna be marching into the heart of Greece, I think. So maybe I'll just take this 13,000 troops and... Yeah, you know what? Let's at least put them into Bourgogne, and we'll figure out what to do afterwards. Maybe we'll like take Vienne or something like that. Sounds good, Lemel. I'll see you when you're back on your tablet, iPad, whichever we want to call it. I'd love to ransom some of these people right away, actually, but I believe they are improving my war score, so I'll hold off. Okay, great. So we're at 46 war score as a result of that. I'm not crazy about the attrition that's coming from this siege, though. I'm curious how many I'm going to need to sustain it. $4,000 troops, really. Well, there's only 2,500 defenders, though, so I can't afford to swap them out. Oh, I hope everything's okay, Endors. I noticed you were quiet, but I didn't assume it was because of an emergency. Actually, I think I'm just going to march him straight into Vienna and see what happens. Attacked in Novella. No, I'm not worried about that at all. It's a fantastic way to kill 3,000 Greeks. Not too bad someone died is not generally a line of... a train of thought that... Okay, fair enough. That context helps out. Normally it tends to be a little bit more of a more dramatic announcement than the way that I read that. Sorry to hear of it, nonetheless, but it's good of you to console them. Okay. So we've got more factions disbanding. At least this time we only have 1 page worth of them. She seems pretty stubborn in hanging on to them, and there is a larger faction that I can deal with. So let's move my Spy Master for now. I have a feeling that my usual readings of things does not help the interpretation. I absolutely love this Byzantine suicide strategy. Hasn't really boosted my war score too dramatically, but... Okay, and you know what? I am pretty far away from my break now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause sort of in the middle of this war just so I can, again, get another stretch in and refill my water and things like that. Again, I want to take a chance. It's a slightly thinner crowd now, but still very healthy turnout for the stream. Thank you all for showing up. I'm enjoying definitely a little bit more of an action-packed game than what we've been used to for the past couple of Crusader Kings 2 streams, which is good because I was starting to worry a little bit about the really long turns where nothing much was happening. So I can't complain about that now. I'm back to screwing up wars, but we will put a quick hold on it just so I can refresh myself. I encourage you guys to get up and do some stretches as well, and we will see you in about 3 minutes. All right, thank you everybody for your patience. Looks like we didn't lose anybody. So yeah, DJ Cool Crusader, I didn't actually know about any AI mods for this, but definitely every time I've had an ally, I cannot help but imagine that they're smashing, you know... I can only imagine like a human player that types with his elbows and screams, "I'm helping!" So, I mean, I complain about the fact that my casualties when fighting the AI seem to be disproportionately large, but I will definitely take the tactical advantage I have over them, over those higher casualty numbers. All right, back to making war. So it looks like we may actually have to expel the Jewry, which is not a desirable turn of events, but we'll see. I think it's great that the Teutonic Order is currently in revolution. Just keeping a close eye on that wealth measure. Yeah, we're losing money. So, I mean, one thing I could do would be to borrow from the... I think it's the Hospitalier? No, it's the Templars. Now, the Templar don't actually have 300 wealth. So, in this case, expel the Jewry. We gain 200 gold at the cost of 100 prestige, which really isn't desirable, seeing as we were trying to go for an achievement with this guy, but desperate times call for desperate measures. I like to imagine little ducklings trying to help, slapping their little webbed feet. They want to help so bad. You usually play a mod called Huni's Rebels and Warmongers. They're much smarter and aggressive. So I get to play the Dark Souls version of Crusader Kings. That's good to know, actually. I'll check it out. My biggest worry about any mods is I'm not quite sure what they wind up doing to the Iron Man playthroughs, which are the ones I enjoy the most. But with that in mind, like if the AI isn't really providing a sufficient challenge, you know, how enjoyable is an Iron Man victory? Welcome back, Limo. What happened to the treasury? Is this the gay son? No. This is still... The gay son, actually, I suspect, is quite wealthy. He's got 391 gold. So I suppose I could just try and kill this emperor. But we're just running out of money because we have too many levies raised. So, I mean, arguably a solution to that is not to have so many troops running around. I'm going to have to wait till they're in my own provinces anyway, and I'd really love to kill a few more Greeks before I do anything like that. But yeah, for now, I mean, we'll work with the 177 that we have. I think that should take us through to the end. What are we oh wow, we're still losing 34. That seems very high. Do I have ships raised? Guess that's the cost of doing business. Oh, maybe it's raising the retinues again. I don't know. Anyways, my hope is that we conquer the provinces before it becomes a problem. You got back into Crusader Kings 2 because of a YouTuber named Jeff Major, and it's because of him you wanted to get more CK2 fix and found me. Hey, that's fantastic. This is actually, again, it feels like I'm going back to old classics in terms of things that we've talked about on stream, but we've very frequently talked about some of the people who treat Twitch as something of a zero-sum game that, you know, a viewer I gain comes at the expense of somebody else. Now, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I stream Crusader Kings on Fridays, right? Because generally, if people don't like Crusader Kings 2, they're going to have plenty of options for lots of really good streamers on a Friday night. But with that in mind, I've noticed actually there's a lot of friends that I have who, like, these are the kinds of people who think it's weird that I game. Like the kind of statement, you know, how can someone as smart as you do something as silly as play video games? But when they saw Twitch, especially the Besieged games, which I will go back to Besieged relatively soon. They added a fairly major new patch. They became really interested in it. And so I don't accept this idea that there's sort of this fixed quantity of viewers that everybody's fighting for. I think the reality is that the more people we have, the more variety we have, and the more honest you are in terms of the kinds of casting that you do, there will always be an audience that shows up. So I love, and honestly, like, I like watching Crusader Kings stuff too. One of the reasons why I stream this game is because it's something that I would like to see myself, and I always don't get that fix. So I love hearing it when people, mention a YouTuber or mention another Twitch channel that regularly does Crusader Kings, just because it gives me an opportunity to watch myself. Generally, when I see people play this game, it's because they're doing it as a one-off, and a lot of the times they're like, it's a one-off, and they don't like the game because it's too complicated. So it's been a bit of a dry spell. CK2 is your first game on Steam. That's surprising, actually. You've been a Europa person, and CK2 has been slightly alien. If CK2 were global, you'd play it like crazy. See, Europa seems like the kind of game that's more up my alley, and I've actually found it harder to get into. It's because I tend to notice a lot of kind of BS combat scenarios, where, this seemingly miraculous victory comes out of nowhere from the AI. It's one of the reasons. I mean, I'll still play it. I'm actually doing a playthrough now where I'm playing Japan, which I'm finding kind of fun. But I haven't quite been able to make as much sense of Europa as I have Crusader Kings 2, unfortunately. But that's just an opportunity for me to engage the game in a bit more of a deeper way than I have presently. I almost want to cut this army in half and chase these guys down, but I don't think that's the right move. I think I should finish this siege, because then I can basically disband them and save some money. Money that we're actually in really desperate need of. I think I might move my retinue into Vienne, and then I can disband this army. I have a feeling I did a lot of this too late, so we're going to go into some pretty severe debt. And we're still at 50... Wow, we're actually still at 55 war score. That's a really big problem. I mean, we don't have any mercenaries, but I don't know if I can really accept the morale hit that's going to happen when we can't pay the troops. On the other hand, I don't want to just disband them in the middle of enemy territory, because then I just lose... I lose my capacity. So I think what I'll do, they sort of suicided themselves into this group. Is there just... Yeah, there's just one more holding, so I think I'm actually going to disband the 11,000 once they take this, and then I'll chase down that group. Yeah, negative 27. That sucks. If my steward was doing his job, I'd have a tithe to come save me. And I guess I don't have any other borrowing options. I can expel the Teutonic Order for 1,000 piety, but I don't see any benefit from that. Well, crap. I mean, again, these are relatively small armies that I'm still competing with. I think the Byzantines actually have some fairly healthy numbers still. Yeah, 31,000 troops. So I do really need to be careful with what I'm taking on. Usually play as Milan in Europa. Why Milan, out of curiosity? Like, I don't have any particular attachment to Japan for playing them. It seemed like an interesting challenge, and it's the furthest I've gotten in terms of achieving kind of the personal goals I set for myself. Okay, so we'll drop these guys. Oh, technically it's friendly territory because we control it, but I see what you're doing, game. I don't like it, but I see it. Any more retinues? So basically what I'm doing here is I'm disbanding every... Oh, God. It's 8,000 angry Greeks. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so we got our tithe. I don't know what I want to do with these guys, though. I think I'm just going to keep them in Lyon for a minute. I also think I ran my retinue into someplace stupid. Oh, we're currently fighting the Byzantine Empire, Endors. We're also actually on a crusade against the Abbasid Empire, but we're definitely not participating. Man, I'm really not learning my lessons. This money's already gone. Okay, so they're trying to retake that province. But that is an easy solution because I've got 3,000 troops to their 16. There's 1,000 there I don't need to worry about. And that 8,000 is on its way to the Crusade, so I will drop these 6,000 troops. There's a side of me that really wants to take them out. But I don't like the idea of chasing them around. Most fun you've had in Europa is either as Japan or Holy Roman Empire country. You play with a mod called Veritas something or other that adds much needed features. Okay, and 14 base tax in Milan's capital, so you could ally Castile, France, and Austria at this. Okay. You and your knowledge of mechanics and smart tactics. Okay, I don't know where these 6,000 troops came from, but they are about to make me very sad. And I have a feeling that they've crept up on me too soon, so they're going to arrive May the 4th. They are gone May the 14th, so I think I need to... See, I'll disband them, but I'm still going to have retinue troops that are going to get killed. Well, it's better than losing war score, though, so... And I'm absolutely not ever going to accept a white piece. That is off the table. I really don't know where these troops keep coming from, though. I know I dart around the map quite a bit, but not enough that 8,000 troops just kind of comes out of nowhere. Okay. Let's just see what I have to work with. Okay, well, 4,000's a good start. I mean, they're gonna have to go on a long walk, but I'm gonna try and avoid involving ships for as long as I can, because then I really will have problems. But I mean, if I can chop the head off of that 7,000 stack, I'm pretty sure that secures the war. I believe we have absolute crown authority for everything except the Empire. Now it looks like Wales is still holding out. So it's high crown authority for Empire, absolute crown authority for the individual components. Okay, good. More tithes. Also good news is that they're not committing to a siege. Now again, they've got enough troops that they'll actually give me a run for my money, so I need to be a little careful in terms of where I decide to strike. But again, it's not necessarily bad if I draw the... It's bad for my treasury if I draw it out, but it's not bad for my war score if I draw it out. If I was ballsier, I'd actually bring in some troops from England, but I am not, so I won't. I believe we outnumber... Yeah, we still outnumber them with this anyway, so... And looks like they're not uniting these two groups, which is fantastic for me. There's a side of me that actually just wants to swoop in and knock these guys down to begin with. The drawback is that they may actually come in... the 9,000 might actually come in on time and catch me when my morale is lower, but we'll see how it goes. So what do I do about this rebellion? Okay, I'm going to take out the rebellion first. It looks like there has been a little bit of juggling with the Byzantines, and I suspect that's actually going to be to my disadvantage. I think there's more troops here than I can actually handle, but my war score is slowly ticking up. So, with luck, they are going to dither long enough for me to win. And in the meantime, 21 Steward, please save me from myself. The 7 just became 9. Which are you referring to, Endors? Actual Vassy levy won't cost any money, it's just my personal... Oh, okay. I always thought you needed to provide for the levies that you raised. I also really want to know what was costing me... Hey, we've got a son. Alright, chat. You know what to do. Let's hear some sun names. For what it's worth, it looks like it's a bastard. Oh wow, I've got so many choices. Alcuin, failed abortion, Ragnar, Frumpton. Okay, I'm gonna go into random.org and we will let fate decide. For those of you curious about what I am using, this is the tool. I just put it in chat. Obviously, it doesn't have the names that I've included in here, but please take my word for it when I say that I have selected every appropriate name. Well, sorry, not even. Sorry, also the inappropriate names, I think, is the one that everybody's thinking about. So, Ragnar from failed abortion. I'm gonna add Ragnaros as my own suggestion. All right, Ragnaros. And yes, I know Ragnar was the original suggestion. That was number 3. So the rankings: Ragnaros first, Frumpton 2, Ragnar 3, failed abortion 4, and Alcuin, or Alcuin, I don't know how to pronounce that, number 5. Commiserations to everyone who's not Ragnaros. Let's acknowledge him as mine. Alright, so now we're going to kill some people. This is... oh yeah, the Peasant Revolt. So yeah, I mean, the hope was to just, you know, put a cap on the fight with the Byzantines. But with any luck, the lack of commitment that they've made to a single objective is going to mean that war score ticks up enough. If it doesn't, yeah, see, the 4,000 and 9,000 troops are a problem. And there's not a very convenient way for me to cut them in half. I mean, what I could try and do is lay siege to one of their other provinces. But there's no way I'm going to be able to take on a stack of 1,400. I mean, that's not going to hold out. I could try for a second best and claim... I mean, there's a lot of stuff I can claim in Vienne, But I think what happens in that case is they reclaim Calatrava and then just go back to Nibla, and I lose more than I'm willing to. So at least get some vassal levies in position. I have a feeling I'm going to be playing a game of reclaiming territory. But we'll see. Maybe they'll get indecisive about... Actually, let's see if I can bait them. Going to La Mancha. Works for me. Oh, sorry. Kite, have a great night. Thank you very much for stopping by. It's always a pleasure to have you in chat. And we'll see you next time. I don't know if I'm going to be streaming tomorrow or Sunday. I'm going to try and do something for the weekend. Definitely streaming on Monday. We'll probably do Dragonfall. And, yeah, we'll work it out then. DJ Cool Crusader promises more outrageous name suggestions. Well, I mean, we are going to have another ruler who's much younger and hopefully producing more progeny. Princess Sister of Britannia is now of legal age. She became a scholarly theologian and is going to be married to a Carling immediately. The older and the more poxy, the better. We already have a couple of alliances with but I think it's only French and Germans that we get alliances from with the Carlings. So, yeah, we'll marry a duke. So, I mean, if I was particularly reckless, I would try and add to my holdings in Calatrava. But something tells me I would get punched hard for doing that. But you only YOLO once. I did not understand fear before, but once you have felt your legs shake and your teeth chatter with fear, then it is hard to remain brave. That doesn't make me a coward, does it? I lose the trait brave. So it looks like Elizabeth II is starting to lose some of his faculties. 8,000 troops. So the best outcome would be if I actually meet these guys in battle, but not at La Mancha. I would have to meet them at Granada. Okay, where are they heading? Bad Joes. I can live with that. So they go to Nibella next. So it should be... I mean, this is great because it's putting distance between them and the group that can actually defend them. But I have a feeling this war is going to be over before it matters. Oh, nope, 98. So, oh my god, and we've got more more rebellion. Okay, well, we'll offer the peace. And let's go throw away the lives of our countrymen. At least the Crusade's doing okay. And shockingly, we didn't actually wind up with any smugglers, despite our rather reckless use of the treasury. You got through 6 chapters? Was the combat was that stimulating, was it? Oh yeah, I guess I should hand out that title. So, Duchy of Seville. It's actually got a few components to it, so... What has my son got? Maybe I'll give it to one of my other sons, actually. Bob's dead. Oh, and the other one's a bastard, so... Let's just kick the can down the road. He'll get Nabella and I'll just hand it off to whoever. Oh, hang on. I think I took more than... Oh, it's a barony. Yeah, you know, let's just hand that... We'll just hand the whole thing over to him. He can do what he wants with it. I mean, either I make the Baron or he hangs on to it. It's more than a couple of upset peasants. There's one thing you cannot figure out in this game. How could a government being broke make me have smuggling? I suspect it's probably more to do with the idea of a lack of finances too. Like, so the morale of your armies falls because you're not paying them. I think the implication is that the normal... Now, I don't know that much about medieval times, but my suspicion is that the normal institutions that you would have in place to protect against things like smuggling would have an equally tough time maintaining morale. So either, you know, you have sheriffs that are looking to make money through other means, and so they accept bribes or something like that. I think there's a few different ways that you could transmit an increase in lawlessness stemming from debt. Although I suspect the real life application actually goes the other way around, which is you have corrupt institutions and countries are indebted as a result of them. But I'm not entirely sure how much modern political economy I can apply to Crusader Kings 2. Good thing those peasants aren't traditionally trained in warfare. Man, they're living under the House of Rose. I mean, I suspect there's only one state that the peasants know. Well, we'll see how good they fight in a minute. How well they fight. Did I just lose my wife? Sounds like a golden opportunity. Where's a Carling girl? I need a 16-year-old lustful Carling girl. 18-year-old is okay. She's gregarious, not lustful. Works for me. She's French, so that's something. And turns out these peasants suck. One of them surrendered already. And the left flank will break before the center. These guys didn't learn from Granddad, let's just say that. Okay, did I miss any important founded factions? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I could have allied with the Byzantine Empire, but... Oh, actually, I thought they were holding one of these provinces down below. Thing is that I don't actually like alliances where I'm going to be called into war, because it'd be nice to have a couple of feasts going on to... It'd be nice to have a couple of feasts to, like, improve people's relations with me. I think once I mean, I'm only 2 provinces away from breaking into Africa, and then I kind of have, you know, Holy War, Casus Belli out my ears. So I think at that point it'd be actually really smart to ally with the Byzantine Empire, just so they can distract the main force of the Abbasids over on the right. But that's still probably a generation out, if not more. Somebody's getting a Greek wife. Oh, see, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I'm not quite sure how the claim on the Empire thing works. Is it just the fact that you have... Like, is it the fact that you have a son that comes as a product of that marriage? Is that where the claim comes? Because if so, I really should be paying more attention to that. Alright. As much as I'd like to go on Crusade, I think I'm just going to disband all of this. We will... Actually, we didn't really lose that much in the end. My retinue's probably devastated, but... Yeah, because, like, I mean, I've been marrying into a bunch of French families and that, but I've never really gotten a claim on France. So... My big fat Greek wedding. But yeah, I mean, I'll definitely say I think my my lack of understanding as far as the succession mechanics or the claims are concerned probably have made me take some less than ideal marriages. You lost the Jews. Seems like everything balances out. We didn't lose them. We kicked them out. I don't like the sustained debt. Large merchant caravan from distant lands has arrived at the gates of your stronghold. Their leader, a jovial man of massive girth, pleads with you in a strange accent to grant them shelter from the elements for the night. Very well, let them in. As evening falls, the fat merchant sits by the fire and regales you and the rest of the court with stories of his travels. His appetite seems insatiable, but you do not wish to prove a poor host, so you order the servants to bring in a second serving. Tell us more about this mythical realm of Hindustan. Dawn breaks and the caravan prepares to move on. The merchant insists on leaving you a gift as thanks for your great hospitality. He shouts out a terse command in a foreign language, and a young man comes forward. This eunuch will serve you well, the merchant says. His loyalty to you, his new master, shall be beyond reproach. That is very kind. I accept your gift. If the Byzantines are having succession problems, you could claim it for my big fat Greek wife or children. It's the wedding that's fat, not my wife. But yeah, that's a fair point, DJ Cool Crusader. I still need to figure out when the right time to strike on that one will be. Then the merchant burns down your entire kingdom. Who designed this game? George R.R. Martin? There we go. Okay, we're out of the hole. Fate smiles upon me, and my wife Giselle is pregnant. Attaboy, 57-year-old Elizabeth II, with your 18-year-old wife. Obligate the vassal. Chalk only likes gaining land through conquest. Social victories aren't his thing. And alternatively, I could assassinate people until my family inherits. Oh, believe me, DJ Cruel Crusader, there's a reason why we became the King of England. There was a point where we were assassinating bishops just to raise tax revenue. Mostly to finance the ridiculous number of wars that we had, but, you know. Oh, this is beautiful. So, somehow the Teutonic Order has lost its control of Cadiz. Actually, every single one of these is their own independent county. No allies. And the combined total is smaller than my retinue. This is Christmas. I am gonna make so much war. It's just a shame we don't have valid casus belli. Can I just change religion so I can declare war on them? Okay, first things first, we really need to stop losing money. I don't like doing this, but let's actually stop the reinforcements for now. At least until we get into the black. Why are we still losing money? Oh no. It's 300 gold for... I gotta let it go. Okay, actually, while we're regaining money, let's see if we can hammer through this High Crown Authority law. It's the Duke of Moray is my best bet to start off with. I mean, it's a really remote chance that that's going to happen, but let's try it. What's his... Eid Siege. I don't believe that's the right one. Oh, turns out it is. Ah, it isn't. I knew he wasn't a duke. I mean, that really sucks we couldn't use the CB, but we'll take these. We'll design a combustible lemon to burn their house down. We'll take this reload time to at least try and push through some laws that we want. I don't think I'm going to participate in this crusade, though. My pregnant wife is eating all my money. How like life. Oh, controversy. Once I break 100, I'll at least go back to reinforcing my retinue, because that's especially with the wars that I'm about to embark on. Just so many. Like, all of that's just sitting there waiting for me to take it. Oh! time to pick some names. We've got a little baby girl. Alright, chat. Give me your worst. Or your best. Or we can stick with Synthwith, but this is your chance to alter history. Florence the Night Girl. Liliana? You know what? I want to see if I can... I'm hesitant to put Safari up on the cast just because I don't know if I have control over what window shows up first. But let's see if I can add Firefox. Probably just went black, don't worry. I'll have you in a second. Okay, promising start. Okay, it's not pretty, but it'll... Actually, you know what? I can probably fix this a little bit. Not that way, though. You're killing me, OBS. Okay, there we go. Oh, I got a way of incorporating sister again. Okay, so... You get to see how exciting all this web browsing is. Okay, so we've got... You guys can figure out what the O, B, and S stand for. I should come up with a recommendation. Do I have any books nearby? Nothing that will give me a name that I want, so I will abstain from this vote. Florence the Night Girl, it is? The Night Girl. Back to the game. Hooray, we're not broke. Yeah, sorry I didn't think to put the browser on for the original draw. Obviously that is a very inelegant solution that I put through, but hopefully that'll be something that I can do a little more regularly. Kind of wanted to see OBS. That's fine. We'll have more daughters. I can't promise that I'll keep a repository of all the previous name suggestions, but gives you guys motivation to keep coming back. Well, the more you show up, the more votes you get, and probabilistically, the more likely your favorite choice will come in. Okay, well that explains why we were losing money. What am I getting as an income? 20? So I can do half speed reinforcements without going broke. Oh, right, we've got a bunch of captives that we can ransom. I don't want to banish them if I don't make money off of it. I'll just let them go crazy in the dungeon. I have passed my break time again, but I think what I'm going to do, we will end the broadcast at the end of this ruler's reign. So because that's probably going to be happening sooner rather than later, I will forgo my last break just to try and give you guys a proper send-off. Okay, so the guy we were buttering up died. Does the new Duke of Moray still have the same number of votes? He has even more. How much does he like us? More than I thought. Okay, let's give him some honorary titles. You can be the Seneschal. Olivia Beatrice Solaria. Yeah. Mommy and Daddy couldn't figure out which name to pick for you, so we went for 3. So this isn't related to Crusader Kings 2, but this is some gaming current affairs, let's say. Are there any Dota 2 enthusiasts, players, or at least somebody who has casual interest in the game? Is anybody a fan of this this Dota-ness? The Duchy of what? I thought I gave this to him. Right? Say it's true. Actually, what I should have asked is, what does everybody think of Dota 2? Because I have a feeling that I'm going to have just crickets chirping in the background if I ask if anybody likes Dota. More of a spectator for Dota and MOBAs in general now. That's fine. I mean, I've been watching a lot more Dota than I've been playing because of school. One of the reasons why I ask is the International's coming up. I think the Compendium's pretty good. I already bought my own. Now, the drawback... I mean... I wouldn't, I probably wouldn't stream it even if I had the connection to support it, but the one thing that I noticed was the thing that pushed me from being interested and occasionally playing Dota to like really going hardcore was actually the International 3. So one of the things I was thinking of doing for a broadcast would be an introduction to the game. You know, this is what it's about. Here's how you can watch and appreciate Dota. And, you know, unpack both the stories about some of the teams, because there's a prediction going on as far as who's going to get the invites, build up some of the context for the tournament so that when the international finally comes along, people who might be interested in seeing an esports event like that are a little bit better equipped than, you know, just, oh my god, this insanely complicated game and there's like just a bunch of people shouting Black Hole every once in a while. So I don't know, it was something I was thinking of doing, but I won't do it tonight. Just gauging interest. My young wife has taken a passion for romantic poetry. She keeps reading any sort of romantic poetry she can get a hold of. 58, 19. Get her more to read. 10 gold, 10 fertility, gains a trait lustful. You keep reading those dirty books. There's only a 40-year difference between these two. There is nothing wrong with that relationship. They're in love. Okay, I'm probably going to regret this. Let's kick it up a notch. You dirty, dirty poet, you. Okay, looks like we can afford higher levels of reinforcements. We'll wait until the month crosses over. But I'm feeling cautiously optimistic about this. Oh god, it looks like she found 50 Shades. 50 Shades of Kappa. Okay, yeah, so we can sustain troop growth. So what do I want to add to my retinue? We're a little light on heavy cavalry, but I'm not allowed to add it. It's because I don't have... No, it's not because I don't have enough money. So, as an alternative, let's add some archers and heavy infantry. Again, it sort of sucks because I'm going to need to take them on a boat. Well, you know what? I can take them on a boat just to participate in the crusade. So smart. Okay, so you need about 9,000 troops to be housed on this boat. Let's take the 121 just in case. And the rest of you can FO. I have a feeling this is actually going to turn out to be a really bad idea to send my whole retinue to the Holy Land. But the House of Rose is all about conquest and bad ideas. This is like the perfect mission for them. And actually, the Abbasids are not even remotely as scary as I thought they would be. GG, we get Jerusalem. Good, seems like Chalk can put 2 and 2 together and get 87. Sadly, Endor as the Holy Land is not ours. It's probably going to go to the Teutonic Order, which is just going to cause me no end of frustration when I try and take the rest of Spain. Hey! The dirty books paid off. Get on the boat. Back on the boat. Alright, so looks like we've got free investiture. How are we doing on High Crown Authority? Not good enough. It's the deal. I gave you Senshell. I want to see results. What do you mean the water isn't good? Isn't it all holy? Oh, sorry, to the Holy Hand, where the water isn't good, but the cocaine and bombs are plentiful. Honestly, I'm just doing this for the trait, which probably isn't going to last me that long. I'm not losing money, so I think I'm just gonna keep the boat in the area. Which is not the most efficient use of my money, but I'll live with it. I believe these are my country. Yeah, they're from Huis. So, sup, guys? Oh God, where is Jerusalem? You know what? It's easier if I... Oh, here we go. It was here somewhere. My Emperor, the more I study the Fraticelli religion, the more I feel compelled to embrace it and show you the wisdom that lies in these texts. I have sent you excerpts from the most interesting parts. I urge you to follow my example and embrace the Fraticelli religion. He's mad! Arrest him! Oh, and I actually get a court chaplain with higher learning. It's a nice bonus. I wish more court chaplains were that obliging. Can I appoint successors yet? Yes, I can. I'm going to appoint an Ethiopian bishop because that's the kind of guy I am. Personally, I hope he gets Canterbury. Okay. Looks like we've got a fairly easy target in Connaught for my Spy Master as well. Who knows, maybe I'll even get a chance to steal some technology. I'm also just going to outright use the cultural advances. Mostly this is because I'm worried about the expulsion of the Jews translating into lost points. Now, in reality, I still have enough of a leftover, like, I have enough of a surplus that I'm still going to be affected by that, but the idea is the more I keep spending it, you know, ideally I'm going to get less than 50, so the impact of the negative event isn't going to be as large. Doesn't always turn out that way, but it works well enough that I... Okay, so why do I not have the Crusader trait? because I'm not personally leading this army. Alright, son was born to Emperor Elizabeth and Giselle. I will hear your suggestions, chat. Boobarella. A fantastic name for a son. Alright, I guess I gotta bring Firefox up for this. Oh, did I really close random? No, it's still here. Where are you, random.org? Okay, maybe I did close it.